So thank you everybody for getting back and settling in, and welcome Shiva. It's not only the people in the hall, but I too am looking forward to talking to you. And it's such a pleasure to be only asking questions and leaving somebody else to do the answers, that always gets me. So thank you very much for doing this. So first and foremost, I know you have an extremely illustrious career. You've won a lot of awards, accolades. You are basically an inspirational leader, and I know that in this hall there are a lot of aspirational leaders. So when you were a young bachelor on the threshold of a career, how did you really think about where you would want to take it? Was there something that motivated you? Did you plan for where you have landed today? How did it go at that point of time? If you go back to the young Shiva, what were the thoughts in your mind, and how did you sort of, guide your career through?
Thank you. At the outset, I want to start by saying that it's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
And I was checking with Gagan and Shalaka, who called me with am I going to interview madam, or madam is going to ask me questions? Because there cannot be anybody more illustrious. As the first woman chairman of the State Bank, chairperson of the State Bank of India, that nobody else can be inspiring than madam herself. So it is indeed an honor, and thank you very much for this honor to talk to all of you. And I was just talking to somebody that if I don't have anything worthwhile for the audience in next, whatever 30 minutes, then it's not worth your time. So I hope to make the most of your time in this. So my story is not very different from any middle class Indian brought up in small city. In fact, I completed my CA from a city called Vijayawada. And it's very interesting that those were the days of only 3 automobiles were there in the country, which is Ambassador, Fiat and Maruti. And many of you sitting in the room should know that my generation, which came to job in 1990, was the most fortunate generation because of the reforms in 1991. Let me tell you, many of you will not know that the maximum salary under the Companies Act, which was prescribed to be paid, was 15,000 rupees per month to the top leader of the company. And 7,500 was the commission, so 22,500 was the maximum salary. And there were just 3 automobiles. And that is the generation I come from. And thanks to the 1991, we have seen how the whole economy has evolved. So, no, I didn't think that today where I'm sitting, the question was that I said it's a small town called Vijayawada. No, I don't hail from Vijayawada, but at that time I happened to be there because of my dad's job. I qualified, 2 choices before me. Either I get into practice, look for a job. So I thought, which better city than Mumbai to come? So Bombay, it was called Bombay those days. It was 1990. So I used to take my cycle, go all the way to the Vijayawada Public Library, look at the Sunday Times of India, which used to come after 2 days. Because there was no internet, there was no digital, there was no computer. Look at the Times of India, look at the job columns, and used to apply for it. Did I get any response? No, I didn't get any response. Because who will hire somebody sitting in a small town and pay the ticket train fare to Bombay? It didn't work. So I said, "Ye to kuch hoga nahi, this is not going to work." So I spoke to a friend who was luckily based in Mumbai. He said, "You come here." "Theek hai, Bombay aa gaye." I came to, then what do you do? So I had seen Hindustan Lever balance sheet. I had seen that it was signed by A. Ferguson, partner called Mr. Powala. I said, "Theek hai, office kahan hai? Where's the office?" It was at Horniman Circle. So one morning, the next day I came, I went to his office. I said, "I want to meet Mr. Powala." Theek hai. So they said, okay. I was surprised they granted the interview. So he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I'm a qualified chartered accountant, I'm a rank holder, I need a job, I want to work with you." So he asked me a couple of questions and then gave me the job, and I joined them the next day.
That's great.
So I anchored myself, but that didn't stop me from reading Times of India because I wanted to join an industry.
Okay.
And soon enough, I managed to get an interview in Times of India, joined them as an assistant manager in finance, and that's how my journey began, ma'am.
Wonderful amount of, what should I say, efforts made by you with absolutely no connections, nobody to speak for you, to come from a tier 3 city. In fact, a lot of people ask me how I came into banking. I wandered into it because I also had no connections, nothing. And the only ones that you could get into were through the competitive exams. So it was either IAS or banking. And that's how I got into banking. So yeah, your story is no less, inspiring that you took all this trouble.
And the second thing was, those days there was no concept of campus interviews. Today the campus are very strong. We didn't have that because the opportunities were not so much. Post-liberation India, guys, is very different because Infosys, all the big majors, IT majors, all the new automobile companies, the banking, financial services, all these companies emerged post-liberation. And this is an defining moment for the country. 1947 was the first most important defining. Obviously, we got independence. Emergency was the second most important milestone for the country. Third was this liberalization. Fourth is 2014. And I don't want to tell you why.
Okay, we'll guess. But the only thing that struck me was you said that there were 3 automobiles, right? And when I started also, there were 3 automobiles, excepting that Maruti wasn't there. It was Standard Herald. So you can imagine how many generations ahead of him I was, okay? So we only had Ambassador Fiat and Standard Herald at that point of time. So, Shiva, let me ask you something, when you joined the media house, it was only print, okay? And now it is far beyond that. You not only have print, you have TV, you have digital, you have all kinds of things. And one of the things the reason that the Times Group is still at the top is because it has been able to change and adapt. What would you attribute this resilience to? What would you attribute this ability to change? Because even in the tea that I was having with many of the CXOs that are present here, there was a lot of talk about this change management that is required when you bring in digitization and how much of a barrier it is to going in for true digitization because this change management is such a, it's such a challenge. So how do you think the Times Group managed it and how did you lead that?
Thank you. Very, very interesting question. See, the buzzword we all talk about is customer centricity. It's a buzzword, but let me explain to you the practical way we went about it. For a media company, there are 2 kinds of consumers. One is consumers, our readers, viewers, listeners, people who surf the net, footfalls, eyeballs, is consumer. Customers are our advertisers. So from us, customer centricity means consumer centricity. And as you know, newspapers in India was started as a political requirement because they had a need to, especially during freedom struggle, they played a pivotal role to ensure that the voice of the people, voice of the masses was heard, and we get our independence. That was so therefore, when my boss, Samir Jain, entered the business, the appeal of the newspaper was to the political class. In a lighter vein, he used to say that the editors, Girilal Jain, only stand up when the Prime Minister used to come to office, not when the bosses come to office. He made a very critical shift in 1988. The shift was from an appeal to a political class, he shifted the appeal to a consumer class. Because it is the consumer class, which is people, what they consume, their aspirations, their affluence, which matters. And that shift, he pushed the editorial page inside, and 1988, that shift, and 1991, back to liberalization, we were ready because we had the consuming class or consumers with us, and as the liberalization opened up the economy, when the marketers came in, they found our platforms to be the most relevant and attractive platform to reach out to the consumers. So this started our journey. Then came in television. In 1991, 92, television came. They started a satellite television. Both Sony and Z were the first televisions, if some of you will remember. Then we understood that we are in the business of content. But as the consumption of content shifts from one platform to another platform, you need to repurpose the content. The same content in the same format can only appeal to the intrinsic appeal of one of the platform, but unless you repurpose it, it doesn't work on another platform. So we started radio, then we started internet. TV we were late, definitely, because we missed the whole general entertainment thing. We entered the news journal, and because the reason for each of the evolution is not so much of change management, but the evolving consumer preferences, consumer behavior, and how they started consuming what we were serving. So, and the second most important thing is, again, Mr. Samir Jain, whom I worked so closely, changed the concept of a newspaper from a newspaper to a FMCG. He said there's a brand, there's a product, there's a consumer, understand the consumer journey and keep evolving. And this, what has helped us constantly stay ahead and give the consumer what they want.
Mm-hmm. So you'd be willing to go the extra mile for the consumer?
If you don't do it, somebody else will do it.
Somebody else will, okay. So it's more a matter of survival as well as continuing to be the leader.
No, the consumer always seeks convenience.
Right.
And the whole world evolves to, because today the consumer is spoiled for choice.
Absolutely.
And it's important. And when the consumer is spoiled for, you can create the world-class product, but if it doesn't appeal or to address a pain point of the consumer, or a need gap of the consumer, whatever you created is absolutely useless. So therefore, you will always have to be one step ahead of the consumer. Also, this is very important. The consumer doesn't know what he wants, or he or she wants. You can't create a product by doing a consumer survey. We never believe in it. You have to create consumer delight, then let the consumer engage with your product. So therefore, the consumer being in sync with the consumer journey is what helped us create one platform after another platform. And that's the reason we always stay relevant to the consumer journey.
Okay. So basically try and create consumer delight and then let them sort of interact and tell you whether it is working or not, rather than, sort of try and find out what they need. So very much like the way, Steve Jobs used to think. He used to think that you create something that's so good that the consumers will in any case come. That kind of design is not going to come by taking consumer surveys, okay? So let me ask you a question that may be a little bit uncomfortable. So the thing is, you are aware that we call the media the fourth pillar of governance. Jeffrey Archer calls it the fourth estate. Okay, and we do believe that the media is the guardian of democracy. Okay, so being a leader in the largest media house and, given the kind of democracy that we have, you must have faced a number of challenges where, you would have wondered which way to report things, whether you should report certain things or not. So how do you make those decisions? And can you tell us of one or two cases where, you had to make really tough decisions about which way to go?
No, this is not at all an uncomfortable question. This is our day job. On an everyday basis, we face this challenge. The beauty of a newspaper house or a media house like us, especially printed word, or even television, because please understand, we have 1,200 journalists. We are not a Google or a Facebook or somebody who we are trying to aggregate user-generated content. And when we are talking of 1,200 journalists, when you are reading a paragraph, let us say on the Times of India or an Economic Times, when you are reading a paragraph, you are not reading about the news. You are actually looking at the 30 plus years experience of that journalist who has crystallized, who has curated, who has the content and bringing it to you the juice or the extract, the most precious extract of what is most relevant. Now at that moment, as the question which was asked to me is that there could be, how do you deal with a subject which could be controversial? And our formulas are very clear. The journalist has to report the impact that decision which will have on the life of the readers. So therefore, there has been no challenge for us that if there is something, we report as is. And also the implication of it. We also go into the history, when such events happen, and then again give you the views of what is the likely fallout of those decisions. And sometimes if you have seen in our column, we also give two views. We get an expert to speak for it, we get somebody to speak against it, and we let the readers decide how do they want to interpret that change or that law.
I get that, but let me give a small personal experience from my earlier institution. So we were trying to create a joint venture with a foreign partner, and the FIPB, the Foreign Investment Promotion Board, they deferred taking a call on this partnership. So that made the headlines in one of your publications, that joint venture with SBI falls through. It hadn't fallen through, it was just that the FIPB had deferred it and asked us a number of questions. Anyway, so obviously, you know, we had to keep telling people it hasn't fallen through, there is no such thing, SBI is not, you know, something, it doesn't do anything without proper thought and all of that, you know, we had to reassure a lot of people. And then, of course, we got all the questions answered, and we put it up again, and it was sanctioned. Now, once it got sanctioned, we sent out a press note to all the publications saying that this had actually got sanctioned. And that particular publication of yours didn't even carry it. Okay. The others carried it. This publication didn't. Okay. So I was obviously very, upset. And I called them and I asked them, what is this? When, it got deferred, you made such a big headline out of it. When it actually got sanctioned, it doesn't even appear anywhere in your newspaper. So this person tells me, that, dog bites man doesn't make news. Man bites dog makes news. So you getting approval is not news. You were expected to get it anyway. Now, how do you take these things? Means, how do you sort of...
It's very simple. Very simple. Just one line answer. Thanks to us, you got the approval.
I don't think so.
Because if we had not raised it at the appropriate forum that somebody like State Bank is not getting the approval, where's the question of... So once you got your approval, the job is done. No, we don't have to cover it again.
Well, I beg to differ on that one. I don't think I'll quite accept that one, but well, I'll take it. Means if that's your take on it, I don't really see what I can say about it. One other thing, we talked about the headwinds that you face in your daily job, about what to report, how to report and things like that. But let me come back to the personal Shiva. And in this journey of yours through so many years, you must have faced personal headwinds. What is it in you that has kept you resilient to this? Means, what do you attribute within yourself? What is the strength within you, which, maybe other people should think about and try and emulate, that has made you resilient, that has helped you rise through the ranks?
Oh, very interesting question. See, the one, of course, I had the good fortune of working with somebody like Mr. Sameer Jain. Not many people know him. He's the elder of the two brothers. And whatever is not taught in your MBA class is taught by him. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the most important. It's a very spiritual person, and that's the management school I always refer to. The second is, I was introduced as a long distance marathoner. There are two kind of traits. One is either you can sprint and burn out, or you can be a long distance runner. Long distance runner is all about patience, because most of the things planning is important, but plans will go berserk. It is not going to work out. I remember, I'll give you two instances which will give you drive home the point. When we started the radio business, it was a government auction. We went and bid crazily. After we won the auction, we all came to office and said, what have we bid for? And no way we are going to be profitable at this. And that's the first lesson learned, that no, put your head down, form a team, get the people, analyze the market, and start building, work with the government, and look at a revenue share. So that changes we could do. Had the conviction that take the thing, yes, you can make the requisite changes. Second is, I used to be in finance. At a dinner once with Mr. Samir Jain, I still remember, 2004. Out of the blue, he said, Shiva, will you start this division called Brand Capital, which is the investment division? It out of the blue, but I had 30 seconds to decide whether I will give up my cushy job as the CFO of the group and start something like a startup. And so that was the second point. When you have to decide, whether you call it gut feel, whether you call it risk taking, whatever it is, you need to take that decision, because opportunities are always fleeting. And many of you in the room, the biggest thing which impedes our growth is our status quo bias. Because we are comfortable, we are in a certain comfort zone. And somebody is asking you, will you give all this up and take something which is unknown? And I want to tell you, as a media person, the value is always in the unknown, not in the known. So therefore, this was the second instance when I took that leap of faith of venturing into the unknown. And the moment I got the job, even our chairman, the Induji, asked me, Shiva, what have you done? What have you got into? There's nothing in this. That's our second instance. And obviously that business went on to become a multi-billion investment arm, which is what gave my name. Otherwise, I would you wouldn't have invited me today.
I'm sure we would have. But anyway.
The third is, again, there was an opportunity when the sales person quit, and I was given the opportunity to head the whole sales organization. And at the time, the CEO, my predecessor, told me, Shiva, there are two ways to get into the top. Either the sales route, which is very tough, ruthless, unforgiving. If you don't get your numbers, you'll be out. Or the corporate route. Choose. Corporate, we don't know. I said, no, let me choose the tough one, the sales route. I'm just giving an example. But the moral of all the story is that the status quo bias and getting out of your comfort zone. And that's what the morning run tells you. Every day morning, 5:15 when you have to wake up, that is your comfort zone. Are you shutting the alarm, going back into your comfort zone? Or waking up before the alarm and going out in the road and running? That makes all the difference. Thank you.
Great, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. You know, you oversee a huge number of people who are spread out right across the country. They are your eyes and ears. So obviously your source of information is far, far richer than most of us here in the room. Now, given what you are hearing, and also this move towards digital and technology, I'd like to understand, and this is my last question to you, what is it that you see as the vision of India in the future? Means, how do you see it working out, and where do you see India maybe in a span of 5 to 7 years' time?
No, fundamentally, I have nobody to talk about India's vision. I must clarify that. I think India has a great leader, and starting from 2014 onwards, I believe there are a series of programs which India has introduced on the digital space, up to ONDC now, whether it's UPI, whether And we are absolutely on the right track as far as digital growth is concerned. And all the best talent, the best set of professionals, the most intelligent mind today have been tasked by the current regime to spearhead each and every initiative, because I get an opportunity, as Madam said, I get an opportunity to meet some of them, interact with them, and some amazing and outstanding work is happening. The 5 trillion economy is not a dream. It is possible. And it will all be driven by digital technology, artificial intelligence, or neuroscience, machine learning, and most importantly, AI. AI, I don't mean artificial intelligence, but aspiration and influence and inspiration. And we have to need the motivation, we need to be inspired, continue to be inspired, and our quest, the thirst, and as somebody was saying that India is not facing the headwinds the rest of the global world is facing, because India is going to be a large consumption market as well. So if the question is that as a country, are we ready to embark and capitalize on the opportunity the world will present, the country will present? Absolutely yes.
Great. Wonderful. So that's good news for all of the people who have come here from business houses and who have partnered with us. I think you've heard from a person who gets his information from right across the country. And so you can rest assured that, you all also are embarked on something which is really interesting. Because again, I think we are at that tipping point. Like you said, that there was the independence, and then there was emergency, and then, there was the liberalization. So we are again at one of those tipping points, I think, where you will see the meteoric rise of what this country is and what this country is capable of, probably. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you so much for sharing your experience and coming here.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. But we will learn a lot from, and any audience question for Madam, please ask her.
No, I don't think the audience needs any questions from me. But I didn't ask the audience. Do you all have any questions from him? We'll do maybe 3 quick questions, if that's okay. If we are not too far behind, where are the organizers? We are okay? Okay. So, any questions, please?
You can ask question to her.
No. Just to him. Any questions from y'all? We hadn't really planned for it, but when you said that, I thought, it would be nice if we get something from the floor. Yeah? Bhuvan? Anything from you? No? Yeah.
Shiva, it was a pleasure listening to you. I wanted to pick on the point that Arundhati raised about the freedom of the media. And you said, you allow the journalists to publish as is. But what do you do if there is pressure not to publish at all? What's your stance then?
This is a question, again, I said, post 2014 question.
Okay.
So, no, but the thing is that, see, ultimately, who is our customer? Our customer is the reader. Now, the question is that if you see a pattern, if you see a trend beyond a point, then you are going to stop reading us. We have to be honest to the reader. And that's the thing I said, that we have these 2 columns. Somebody speaks for, somebody speaks against. And ours is the only paper you will see that sometime one branch, maybe Mumbai may take a certain view, Delhi may take a very different view. So therefore, that is the independence and freedom we are given to the readers. A Maharashtra Times can take a different view, from a Times of India can take a different view, how the editor feels. Ultimately, the final word is of the editor. And management interference is very limited.
Thank you.
That's great. Yeah.
This is Bhuvan. Let me ask a question. Shiva, for the last, or maybe 5-10 years back, we used to hear that print media is no longer the future. And people will no longer read newspapers, social media is taking over and so on. print media was there when TVs came, print media was there when social media came, and print media is there when now I think metaverse and other things will come. What's your view on, the mix of media and consumption patterns looking forward?
No, it's a very, very good question, because when TV came, they said it's all color, it's all movie, it's all this, and newspapers are going to die. So these newspapers are going to die, I'm hearing for the last 32 years. But today I don't know whether Facebook will survive or not. I'm sure it will survive in a different format. But the key thing is, as long as we have this set of journalists who are curating content, we are able to give a credible information and presenting in an ambience which the readers are comfortable engaging with. Because, see, every format has its advantage. We definitely have lost the search game. Newspapers have lost the search game. But the serendipitous discovery of something which you do not know about, it can only happen with the newspaper. The second thing which you have lost is, when I joined this company, newspaper was a 24 hours product. Today, newspaper is only a 2-hour product in the morning. If I don't deliver the newspaper between 6 to 8, and you don't give me my 15 minutes of your time, then I have lost it. Because then it loses its relevance. So, and the third is the content. What kind of content I am giving, and how engaging those content is. So the serendipitous discovery of something which I don't know about. And the third is the way we engage with mediums. I'll tell you 3 things. Print sheds light. Television sheds heat. You know what heat means? Heat. Digital is flash. So you choose light, heat, flash. So as long as we continue to shed light, we will remain relevant.
Wonderful answer, I really must say. That's something I'll definitely remember. And about television spreading heat, you're absolutely right. I wish it would spread a little less heat.
Digital is all flash. It just comes and goes. And you also, the way you consume digital, you'll scroll through it. And you're not, so therefore you're not imbibing it. You have to, if you want to, the same book, 4 people reading it, physical book, 4 people read it, they'll come out with 4 different ideas. Because that's the insight you pick up. That's how our brains are wired.
We'll go to the back, I think.
Yeah.
We've had too many from the front rows. So the last question is the back. At the back.
Sorry, I'll take my seat first. Hi, a different question altogether. So normally when we come to these kind of events, when we'll have experienced leaders who have 30, 40 years of experience talking to us, we'll talk about the time when there was scarcity, speed, less of availability, and then we carved our journey wherein we would have ample of things and we would know everything. How about the chats which would be 20 years, 10 years from now, when all our kids are having everything, all the information is available, less of scarcity, and how do you think we would be able to share this kind of journey with the people?
No, again, scarcity again is a, what we call frame of reference. What will be available 20 years hence, if you look at it, today what you have will look scarce. What was available 20 years to us, my generation, and if we compare to what was available to my parents' generation, no, to them it will appear as if we had a lot of bounties. So the evolution is such that and the speed of evolution is going to be much faster. The kind of lifestyle, the kind of services, the ability to travel, the ability to enjoy, the ability to lead a certain lifestyle will be much more 10 or 20 years hence than what it is today. So the question of scarcity is only a mind game. The mind always plays the game. And I can tell you again from the whole, again, this is a secret I'm telling all of you. The secret is that as individuals, we all seek an identity. What am I? And whenever we're consuming something or reading something or buying something, so we always think that, okay, this is what I am. This is what I want to be. And at that time, the marketers rush to say that, okay, unless you have a Mercedes, as an example, or a Mont Blanc pen, or if you go on holiday to so-and-so, this identity is not complete. So then you say, yeah, well, I will do it. So you buy him. The moment you consume, then you are searching for the next one. And it will be very common among all our journeys. We start our journey with a 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment. Whether it's a real estate, whether it's a banking, it's a financial product, whether it's a service, whether everything, human greed is endless. So the concept of scarcity ultimately is a function of mind. And as we evolve, there will be much more. And you will have many more stories to tell your next generation.
So thank you. On that, I think we will close today's interaction. Thank you very much again. Thank you.